Hi, my name is Andrew with Grimbeard Leather, and right off the bat, I just want to thank you for purchasing one of my kits. It really does mean a lot. I really enjoy what I do at Grimbeard Leather and making things unique for people. And I want to teach you how to do the same thing that I'm doing, because it's not magic. If you're creative or you think you might be creative and you want to try something, this is going to be for you. I try to keep these at a low price point to make it easy for you to get multiple ones so you can give them as gifts. Each kit is also unique. So in this video, I'm going to teach you how to make a minimalist wallet. It's a tall wallet, has two pockets in it, has the main pocket in the top so you can put some cards or some money or whatever you want, and then a small pocket on the back. Same thing, throw a couple bucks in there or a couple cards. Each piece is going to have a different color of leather. It's also going to have a different design on it. It may have a different foil color, like this dragon eye is gold, this dragon eye is silver. You could get blue or red or purple or green or rainbow. It's all over the place. You're also going to have a bunch of thread colors in there, 2, 3, 4, something in that range, just depending on the kit that you purchase. 2 needles. The only thing that you have to bring to the table is a pair of scissors, something to cut the thread with, and a lighter or a thread burner, something to that effect. And that's just to finish off the very end so it looks nice and clean when you finish your stitching. Again, each kit is going to have even different leather in it. So you see with these two, they look similar, but the pocket's different on the back. You could get one with a red back, a tan front, and a brown with the design on it. And they just go together like this. It just makes each and every one of these kits unique. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into this and I'm going to show you how to make this minimalist wallet using just what's in this kit. All right, now I'm going to show you how to stitch this wallet together. We're going to do a fairly simple stitch. This is called a saddle stitch on this particular one. And then this is just like a decorative stitch around the outside. So without further ado, I'm going to set this to the side. You can go ahead and set your thread burner or your lighter off to the side, your thread snips, and then choose one color. Each of these kits are going to have a couple or a few colors in it, maybe 2 to 3, but just pick whichever one you want. For this one, I'm going to use the red because it kind of pops. And I like red dragons. We've got a dragon eye. So go ahead and take the rest of your thread, set it off to the side. And then you've got your 2 needles. For the saddle stitch, let me get untangled here. You're going to thread 1 needle onto each side of the thread. So take one of your harness needles, and these are a little bit blunt on the end. If you push too hard, you still can poke yourself, so be careful. Take the end of your thumbnail and kind of push down to the end of the piece of thread. It's going to remove a little bit of the wax, it's going to flatten it out, and it's make it real easy to push that through the eye of the needle like that. I intentionally used a little bit bigger on the eyes just to make it easier to get the thread through. Go ahead and do that with your second needle as well. Just flatten it out with your thumbnail, poke it through the end. Take both of the ends of your thread and grasp both of the needles like this, and then pull it down. You don't want to go all the way halfway, but you can come pretty close. Just leave a little excess at the end. We'll separate those out like that. So you have 1 needle on each side. Now we're going to put our pieces together. You're going to have a design on one, logo on the other one, and then a blank piece. Sometimes this will be blank as well and have kind of a cooler leather, like maybe like this green or a dragon scale pattern or something to that effect. So this is going to be your front. You don't want to put this pocket over top of it because it'll cover it up. Or maybe you do. It's up to you. Generally, you'll put it on the back to cover that up. Flip this over and then put this piece on top. Next step is to flip this over, because what we're going to do is we're going to set this piece aside in just a second. And we're going to start the stitch right here. But you want to make sure that you don't go too far, otherwise you're going to have to backstitch and take it out. So I usually count down. In this particular one, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and on the 7th hole, that's where you're going to stitch through. So there's one kind of peeking right there. But on the 7th hole, you're going to make a mark. So I'll lift this up, and then I take my needle and I just kind of scratch it off to the side. And that's my mark. So I know that when I get to this point, I don't stitch that hole. I stop there, and then we'll add that piece. So I'm going to set this off to the side. First thing we're going to do is we're going to start the 3rd hole down. Don't start at the top. We're going to do a back stitch, so it kind of locks the stitch in. This is a stress point when you're opening and closing the wallet. So you want to make sure that you've got extra stitching up there so it'll be rigid over time. I'm going to pull that through just like that. Take both your needles, match them up again, and then pull them to the center. And that's all you need to do. Take one needle, doesn't matter which side you're using, and try and keep that as even as you can right there. Doesn't have to be perfect because you're going to end up with some excess thread at the end. We're going to take this and we're going to go through the next hole and out the back, and then through the top hole and out the front. Go ahead and set that needle off to the side, grab your next one, and go back up just like you did with the other one, into that hole, out the other side, and then through the top hole and out the other side. So what you should end up with is 2 stitches, just like that, and that's called the saddle stitch. Now we're going to work our way down the wallet using that same method. Generally, you'll just want to do it 1 stitch at a time. So out this side, take your other needle, go in that same hole and out the next one. So just like that. But you can go about 2 or 3 down with 1, and it makes the process a little bit quicker. So I'm going to do that. So go 1, take the same needle, next hole, 2, 3, and then set this off to the side. Take your other needle, so this one, and go back through that hole, out the other side. So 1, down to the next one, 2, out through the next one, 3, and then pull these tight, just like that. And there's your stitches. You'll notice these little white flecks. That's just the wax from the thread. At the very end, what you're going to do is you're going to take your thread burner or lighter, and you can just melt that wax. And it gives it a nice, clean look. So don't worry about the little flecks. Those will go away at the end when you're done doing the melting. So there you go. You've started off the saddle stitch. And what you're going to do is you're just going to work your way down. Now remember that this piece has to go on there. So when you hit that 7th hole, make sure you don't stitch it. So I'm going to go 1 more down, and then we're going to stitch the pocket on. And then I'm going to speed the video up, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to go around the outside of the wallet until we get to the end. And then I'm going to show you how to finish it so that it's seamless at the end. So out that same hole there. All right, we'll tighten that. So next one, what I like to do is I like to line these holes up just to make sure that I was accurate. Because if you're off by 1 hole, it's not going to match up. So just take your needle and just kind of count down to the very end, just lining those holes up like this so you know those are even. So this next one, you're going to take your top needle, go through that pocket, and then down through that hole and out the other side so that you can attach it. Take your other needle, go back through that same hole and up through the top, and now your pocket is on. And now you can finish out the rest of the wallet. When we get about here, I'm going to do that little decorative stitch that we have over here, and I'll show you how to do that. So I'm going to speed the video up now. I'm going to stitch all that, and then we'll come back and I'll show you the decorative stitch. All right, now I'm going to show you how to do the decorative stitch along the side right here so that it ends up looking like that. It's just an X pattern. So instead of going straight up and down with the 2 needles, you're just going to kind of loop them around the outside. But I'm going to show you how to do that here real quick. Take one of your needles, set it off to the side, and take the other needle and go over the top and through the next hole and out the other side. Then pull it tight. Sometimes it'll catch on that. Just loop it. There you go. And do the same thing. And we're just going to do this for a few stitches. We want to leave 2 holes up at the top just because this is a stress point right here. And if I don't have that locked in, pulling cards in and out of that, it could cause problems with the stitching over there. So don't loop all the way around that. unless you're okay with having a non-secure stress point on the leather. So you can do this decorative stitch anywhere you would like. Doesn't have to be in this specific spot. Could be on the bottom, could be on the other side, could be all the way around the wallet if you want it to. So now we have kind of like almost a barber pole or a candy cane right there. We're going to go with the next needle, bring it over the leather, and go through that hole that you just stitched with the other needle and up through the top. Now when you pull this tight, you want the X or the cross to be right on the edge. And then pull that tight. Go over and through the next hole and do the same thing. Make sure that X pattern is on the top, and you'll kind of have to maneuver the thread a little bit. Just a couple more holes. Sometimes, if you notice, that'll pop right through the thread right there. And that's okay. It can cause problems with knots, so I kind of like to back out a little bit and push it off to the side until it doesn't hit and go through the thread. Just pull that tight. Get your X pattern over the top. And if it's too loose, if you notice right there, you can take your needle and kind of poke it underneath, pull it back up, and then pull it tight. Go over to the next one. We've got 2 more stitches on this, and then we're going to go back to the saddle stitch and finish off the wallet. Go. And through the next one, and over the top. And now you can take both pieces and pull it tight. You can readjust a little bit, just kind of pull the thread so it looks nicer down the side. All right, now we're back to the 2 needles, so I'm going to saddle stitch this and speed the video up real quick just to finish these off, and then I'm going to go right to the end, and then I'm going to stop and show you how to do the back stitch. All right, we're on that last stitch right here. This right here, when I punched the holes, it didn't completely punch that piece out. Now I try to spot check this, but if that happens, go ahead and take your needle and just push it through, and that little piece should pop out. It's just a little piece of leather, and you can get rid of that. So last stitch, and we're back up to the top. And we're going to do the same thing that we did over here. We're going to go backwards. And we're going to stitch down twice. So go through the next hole, take your next needle, put it back through that same hole you just came through, pull it tight. There's your first back stitch, and we're going to do 1 more. And this just locks it in place so that you don't have to worry about it coming loose. Again, this is a stress point when you're moving things in and out of there. Well, the very last step that you're going to do is you're going to take your scissors or your thread snips, and you're going to trim the thread, but you don't want to go all the way to the bottom. You want to leave a little bit there. We're going to do that on both sides. And we can slide this off to the side. Grab your lighter or your thread burner, and you're going to melt that. And then you're going to use this piece of metal on the lighter to push it into the leather. And I'll show you what I mean here. That'll melt the thread down, and then push, and it flattens it out and finishes that out. Go to the other side. We'll do the same thing. Careful not to burn yourself. Flatten it. And there you go. There's your finished stitch. So you'll notice in some of these places you've got a little bit of white with the wax. To get rid of that, just take your lighter and just run it down the side until that thread gets a little bit dark. You don't want to do it too much because you will burn through it. It is thread. And just run that down the side. And be careful not to touch it with your fingers. There you go. You'll also notice that the leather is darkening a little bit. That's because the leather has wax in it. And that'll rub off with time. Just run this along the bottom. And that just gives it a nice finished clean look. And there you go. There's your wallet. And there you have it. You just finished your first minimalist wallet kit, or maybe it's your second or third. I'm not sure. Stitching is totally up to you. This little decorative stitch on the side just gives it a little bit of pop, but if you want to do the entire wallet in that stitch, go for it. It's totally up to you. Each of my kits are different. They'll have different leather, different designs, different foil colors, and come with different thread colors, but it has everything that you need to complete a project. Some of the other kits that I offer right now are a bottle koozie for a glass bottle. So it's a kit that you start out with this and just stitch the sides down. Again, different thread, foil, design colors. I've got potion bottles. These are used for your role-playing games, and they're just a physical representation of a healing potion. They each have 10 D4 inside of them, so you can spill it out, and there's your supreme healing potion. You can count up and tally up the numbers, and now you have a physical representation of a healing potion. These are all kits. These are all things that you can do. Make it simple. You have a creative brain, and if you don't, hopefully this will help develop your creativity. So thanks for joining me. Again, I'm Andrew with Grimbeard Leather. You can check me out online at grimbeardleather.com, as well as YouTube, which you're here right now at Grimbeard's Academy of Conjuring. I'm on Instagram and Facebook as well. So thanks for joining me.